can't think of a cold open, Ian. I tried. I can't.
I suppose it's a half-pint episode, so
It is.
we
It
don't
is.
have to go completely on schedule.
We don't. We don't. But this episode, we are going to talk about some very spooky things that happened in not just allegedly happened. We crossed the realm into murders. So this is very much a true crime episode mixed in with some ghouls and goblins and ghosts, which is
The opposite of
wowzers.
true crime.
Well, well, that's only if they don't exist. I don't know. Hello, it's Think Tank Kids, where two comedians and me talk about shit. But this is a half pint episode, and you might have noticed there is a third of the Triforce missing, and that is Nathan. Now we can't say too much at the moment. I would urge you just to read the newspapers. Full details will follow. All we can say is that we've apologised to the farmer profusely. We said to Nathan it's probably best if he takes a leave of absence for a little bit.
It's going to be like this for a while.
Yeah. After what he did.
Yeah.
After what he did.
The Countryside Alliance are just going to, hunt us down and that is what they're experienced with doing. So
yeah. It turns out, that hunting ban didn't really work if you just ignore it. So
I've never understood how they've got away with it. It's just like, okay, we've now banned hunting. Well, we're just going to keep on hunting. What are you going to do about it?
Pivoting. I know like horsey people. I'm not in that realm myself, but I am adjacent with people I know, and they go out on these like hunting parties and that, and they still do everything like proper blatant. And I think that they're like there's like one small distinction about who does the killing, and that's how they circumvent the hunting ban, which is crazy. But it's a little bit unrelated. But I've asked you this before. Have you seen the comedy show Peep Show?
Bits and pieces. The thing is, it was at its peak when I was at university, and you'd think that would be the best time to watch Peep Show, apart from the fact I didn't have a telly for most of the time that I was at university. So I basically missed it and never got round to going back to it. But I'm aware of this and that.
There's one episode where one of the characters' dads is a farmer, and he's like a proper southern like posh kind of farmer, and they think he can't hear them because he's got big headphones on while they're doing metal detecting. And one of the characters goes, "Yeah, you big bumfuck badger baiting homophobe." And he takes the headphones off and he goes, "For the record, Jeremy, I may be a homophobe, but I'm no badger baiter." Just, whenever I think of hunters, I just think of the badger baiter. Okay, right. It's a half pint episode. Nathan is laying low until his stars go off like GTA. And we are going to talk about some horrific things today, so we have to get the light part of it out. We're going to talk about some horror films.
Seriously, just imagine a horrific episode, and then we add Nathan to it.
We had to wait till he wasn't around to do this
basically.
one. Yeah, we had to. It was like, okay, right, what can we break out of the vault?
Yeah,
it's great. Get the Rembrandts out. The Nazis are gone. I'm not calling Nathan a Nazi. I'll just put that one out there. He's a lovely fella. So we're going to talk about some horror films, and we're going to talk about cursed films, cursed productions, things that happened around films that are eerie, little bit unexplainable, or just plain, sad. There's going to be two parts to this episode. We're going to cover what I call some big hitters, as in proper verified events that did happen, and then we're going to take you have anecdotes and you have research, right? And the second half we're going to talk about anecdotes. It's what cast and crew have said, like, oh, I was on the set and this happened and that was a bit weird, and it's just kind of things that have come out in interviews. I mean, I found it really enjoyable to read, because especially with horror films, either people feel compelled to lie about this stuff, or it creates such an atmosphere that it genuinely is a bit spooky. But that's enough rambling. Ian, what's your experience with horror films? Because I'm a massive fan. I love horror films.
Okay, so I am part of my remit on the show is to be the film guy. I would say that I do like horror films in the round, but it hasn't always been that way because this might not come as a massive surprise, but as a child, I was a fucking wimp. And
No.
it got to the stage where, on the street where I grew up, we had 6 shops. And until I was about 8 or something, one of those shops was a video rental. And the thing was, the video rental guy, he was, from what I recall, just like a fairly sweet old guy, not your kind of typical video shop kind of owner. But one of the more fatal things that he kind of didn't do is he didn't really divide videos up into genres. So, whilst there was like a kind of area for kids videos that we mainly stuck by, if I was like going to have an explore of the rest of the shop, then suddenly I'm looking at very disturbing images as a child. I'm looking at Pinhead. I'm looking at Leatherface. I'm looking at Freddy Krueger. And obviously, I'm not of an age where I'm actually going to watch these films. So instead, I go back with these horrific images in mind, and I start to dream, have nightmares. And having gone back, it's like I've seen most all of the Nightmare on Elm Street. I have seen all of the Hellraiser films, and my dreams, like, were a lot more vivid than most of the stuff that you'd actually find, certainly in a fucking Nightmare on Elm Street film. Like, Hellraiser, I suppose, came pretty close, because as a child, I didn't know what degloving entailed. But so ostensibly from the age of about, I don't know, 8 till like a fairly embarrassing point in my late teens, if I was ever to go to like the Virgin Megastore or like an equivalent shop, like Electronics Boutique, all these names that now no longer exist, Zavvi, let's go down memory lane. I would purposefully steer clear of like the horror section because if there's one thing that the horror genre does very well, it's like artwork and makeup and visuals, because that is the selling point of what can basically be 90% of horror films, I'd argue, are shit, because they can be really cheap to make. It's like there's the grain of a good concept of everything, but usually it's just a case of it's only the really good ones that stand the test of time. It's like most everything that came out in the 80s, you've got a handful of classics, and then you've got everything else that populated that video shop in the south suburb of Leicester.
I will make one small distinction there as well.
Sure.
Horror film has everything you've described, except there's also some can be shit but have a cult. They gain a cult following.
Yes.
And you watch it and you know it's bad. Like the Driller Killer, The Dentist,
sure,
Sleepaway Camp, stuff like that. You don't watch it because it's a stellar, really well made film.
No.
It's janky as shit, but it's fun. Like a lot of horror is fun as well.
Sure, but that's the thing, because even now, like, stuff that tends to horrify me sticks in my memory a lot more than things that delights me. I try and purposefully steer away from the horror genre, which is just like gore and cruelty and stuff for the sake of it. So, for example, a Saw film, fuck off with that shit. I know Nathan likes The Punisher. Not The Punisher. The Terrifier.
Terrifier,
stuff.
I won't
it's
watch
like,
those films.
not for me. I'm not watching the Human Centipede series. I'm not watching what is it, the Serbian movie?
A Serbian film.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. And the thing is, I could obviously be genuinely horrified by something that's genuinely gripping and chilling, but at the same time, certain visceral images from a very subpar horror film could just as easily stay with me. Also, and I know we're going to have a big disagreement here. I know you like your Rob Zombie horror films.
I have a complicated.
Okay.
I don't like them. They repulse me, but it's for that reason that Hellbilly I find abhorrent. I don't like it. It's dirty and it makes me feel dirty.
Sure.
But I think it occupies a quite an important place.
So you appreciate it because it can make you feel that way, I suppose.
It's because it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Sure. Okay.
Like,
I understand that. For me, that's where it stops. It's like literally. So I rank. So I've got a letterboxed equivalents website called Flickcharts, where I tend to rank the films that I watch.
If I Google Flickchart and the first thing that comes up is not movies, Ian, I'm going to be very cross. It's just women rating their wanks.
Oh, well, I wasn't the person who brought up Rate My Poo on a previous episode. But I didn't think it was you. But yeah, so the thing is, apart from the fact that I've moved like most comic book movies right to the bottom so that I can concentrate on the rest of the chart and then re-add the comic book stuff back in. But before I decided to do that, right at the bottom of my flick chart was The Devil's Rejects. And then not very far up would have been Halloween 2.
Because Rob Zombie one.
The first Rob Zombie Halloween, I could kind of get on board with, but the sequel was just, no, that's all he's good at doing. So
that he didn't want to make that. He like the thing is, we're talking about this now, and I realize that this is so deep. I want to talk about you. I want to talk about this with you for. I don't want to sound romantic, but I could talk about this with you for days upon end because. There's so much because, like, me and you, neither of us were both aware of this. Neither of us. How much time would we get out of talking about the video nasties, like all that law and stuff, the laws around the Obscene Publications Act and stuff like that? It's absolutely fascinating. But
a fair amount.
Yeah, but like, I know what you mean. Like Halloween 2, Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, was dreadful, but he didn't want to make it. That was pure studio interference, and it was just. Yeah, that was a shitter. So is Rob Zombie then? That's kind of like the border of. It's just on the other side of the border of. I don't like this type of horror.
Because I could kind of get on board with the first Halloween. I mean, there are certain things about it that I didn't like as a remake, but I could just about get on board with what he was doing and how he'd kind of tempered. Like his worst impulses and like some of the people he cast in the film. But then that was just completely undone by Halloween 2. And I don't. Sure, okay, there's probably some studio tampering. That's what they all say.
So with Halloween, it really was. He had like the Weinsteins phoning him while he was on set demanding rewrites, and he was like, "I'm filming, piss off," and stuff like that. And the first, Halloween 2007, was originally meant to be two films. One covering the childhood of Michael Myers, the second being a remake of Halloween. They forced it into one film.
Right.
And he had such a bad time making it that he was like, fuck this. But then he saw the treatment of Halloween 2, the remakes of Halloween 2, that the studio were going to do. And they said, no, we promise if you come back, you can do whatever you want. And of course, that wasn't really the case. Sure. So there was a lot of studio interference with those films. That being said, though, Rob Zombie's still Rob Zombie. It's still Hellbilly. Like it is. It is still Hellbilly. It's still people you are actively rooting to die. Like, you know, that's all the Rob Zombie films. I'm like, I can't wait for these fuckers to die.
Strangely, but there we go.
That was sad.
Anyway, so that's. I don't want to take. And this is a mini episode. I don't want to take up too much time with this. So that's kind of my take. It's like nowadays Typically, if I'm going to the cinema, I won't seek out a horror film
Okay,
because,
yeah, yeah.
again, I've got that yellow streak down me, so I'll probably watch it on my computer with easy access to the volume control. Um,
Right.
but
Yeah, yeah.
but some of my favorite films are horror films, so we're definitely going to talk about one of them today. Um, but I think like my third favorite film is like Let the Right One In.
Oh, yeah. What, the original one?
The original one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So my experience is a little bit very, very similar. So for people listening, and this is something I'd want to ask the audience as well. Can you remember this of what we were talking about there? Going into a video shop, and all you had to go on was the covers. And you might be able to ask the people who work there, because once upon a time, people who worked in places like that were massive fans of it. Like they chances are they'd seen most of the films that were on the shelves, because that's what they did. Like they'd sit there all day and watch films and stuff like that. And
If anything, those stores would attract those kind of people as employees. Yeah.
And that's exactly what you wanted. You wanted experts in place. Like, it was fantastic. And I remember, and it was always like it was a place called Grays Road in Stockton when I was little. And I'd go in, and it was a really dark shop, and you had to go down a step to get in there. And it was like you said, there was no distinction of genre or anything like that. It was just, I remember one film I picked up called The Night Before the World Ended, and it was on the back. It was saying like the world's going to end tomorrow. The world breaks down into chaos. And I read that when I was like 6 or 7, and it still sticks with me now. I'm in my mid-30s. That it proper fucking panicked me, like existential, because I'd never considered that the world could end before then. So like and it was exactly the same. So like Pinhead, from like Hellraiser. Got a video game coming out in September, by the way. I'm very excited for that.
Okay.
Oh yes, I can't wait. So yeah, like I'd see Pinhead, I'd see Freddy Krueger, and it was the artwork that, to your imagination, you'd conjure up more than could ever be in the films, and I loved that. I've had nightmares. I've had many nightmares through my life. However, I've only dreamt of Freddy Krueger thrice, and each time though, he's always just been someone I've kind of just like hung out with. I've never had a nightmare about Freddy Krueger.
Right, okay.
I've always had dreams where it's because I find Freddy Krueger's humor quite appealing. So especially
so
like
latter stages, Freddy Krueger.
Well, Dream Warriors onwards, sure, obviously. Yeah. It's mainly Dream Warriors onwards. Yeah, that's the humor that I do enjoy with Freddy Krueger. So that's the experience I've had with. I watch a lot of horror. Me and Becca, my wife, a few years ago, we did 31 horror films in 31 days for October. That was great. We ended with the original Halloween, and it was just c'est magnifique, to use a language I hate. But that's the intro. That's what you get in. We're talking about horror films, so we that's our experience with horror films. There's loads more we could say about that, but I want to talk about what goes on behind the horror films, and for that, I've got some stories today. Some well-known, some of it is well-known, and some of it I hope you've never heard before, and some of it is what I thought was well-known, and then I started looking into it, and I was like, holy crap, I had no idea any of this existed. So, shall we talk? I'm going to talk about. We'll talk about the film, then we'll talk about some of the eerie stuff that happened behind it, and we'll just have a bit of a thought on whether you could be convinced to think that might be a cursed film. Does that sound all right?
Okie dokie.
So the first one I'm going to talk about is the Poltergeist. So it's not just the Poltergeist, the first film, even though that's where the majority of it is. It's the film series, because this had a lot of deaths and really odd things that happened around it. So, Poltergeist, for those who don't know, a lot of people always think it was directed by Steven Spielberg. It wasn't.
I found that out because I started doing a Steven Spielberg marathon for a podcast project I had to abandoned after one person dropped out. So I was going through all of the 87. I just assumed that Poltergeist would be on the list. I was like, oh no, it's Toby Hooper. Okay.
Yeah.
That's bizarre. But there we go.
But apparently he had so much to do with the film that even Toby Hooper was just like, that's not my film.
Yeah,
Like,
I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it might be horrors. Horror is an interesting one to apply to Poltergeist because the age rating system wasn't kind of as robust before Poltergeist. Wasn't Poltergeist one of the first ones to like really get off the ground, like the different age ratings? I think it might have existed before then, but I know Poltergeist was central to something because I think it's typically a PG. Oh, that was it. I think it used to be either like parental guidance or 18. And I think in it might have been something that Poltergeist was the first one that made people think this might not be for kids.
I remember some podcasting friends of mine in America saying that back in the 80s, a PG was a film that really had teeth. It's not the kind of PG-13 that you'd have nowadays. So I'm not entirely sure what kind of prompted the rated R rating that would then come in.
Yeah, I just know Poltergeist was rated PG for a while, and
Sure.
obviously there was some debate about that. But this has had a lot of deaths associated with the film. But the first one is well, it is deaths, but it's just not as close as that. So in the film, the actor Jo Beth Williams, who plays the mum, Diane, there's a scene where she's submerged in a pool full of skeletons near the end of the first film. Do you know when like they're outside and they discover that it was on like an Indian burial ground and like the skeletons pop up like
that old chestnut.
Yeah, and like that. Anyway, those were real skeletons. And that was like it seemed like it was a myth for a while that these were real skeletons, but special effects artist Craig Reardon, he confirmed that back in the 80s it was actually much cheaper for low budget films and much more accessible to buy real human skeletons and use them in low budget films.
Jesus.
And you'd get them from biological supply houses, which Burke and Hare would have loved this. Like, that would have been big. Burke and Hare would have been big into that.
The pioneers, some would say.
Yeah. Burke and Hare walked so that Poltergeist could run. So rather, yeah, because and it makes sense that when I heard the explanation that it was cheaper and more accessible to get from a biological supply house, which would, also serve the medical industry as well, rather than pay a costly special effects company or artists to sculpt artificial bones. It was just not feasible for low budget films. And he was very clear. He's like, this was just kind of common practice and it wasn't anything sinister. So there was nothing like really, there wasn't like anything to it. It was just, this was a cost choice that had to be made. But it's just, I don't know, like at the time, obviously it would have made a lot of sense. But to me, reading it, I'm just like, oh, it's a bit choice. I don't know. What do you? I don't. I think after hearing the rationale, I'm like, all right, yeah, fair enough.
I think it screams to me that unions were a lot weaker back in the day. That an actress would have to be in amongst real life human skeletons rather than props, unless she was absolutely fine with it. Because
I hadn't even considered that.
It does strike me as I'm sure these medical supply people do a bang up job of cleaning them and making sure there's no remaining traces of germs or whatever. But still, that's fucked up.
Can you imagine? You get your crater bones and they're all shattered, and you phone to complain. They're like, "Oh fuck, we sent the osteoporosis one." Oh no!
Yeah.
I didn't order these rattling bones. Oh, good luck. But so that's about as happy as we're going to get for these stories today. Because over the next 6 years, 4 cast members from the original trilogy died. In 1982, Dominique Dunne, who played the eldest daughter, Dana, she was murdered by an ex-partner.
Yes.
Which is, that's pretty horrible. So there's a lot of true crime cases that deal with that. Then Julian Beck, who played Kane in Poltergeist 2, which I think Kane was the baddie, wasn't he? So the old baddie. But he died
Haven't
from
seen the
stomach
sequel.
cancer.
Okay.
Ah, right. He'd been fighting stomach cancer since before filming.
Yeah.
And in that was in 1985 he died. Will Sampson, who plays Taylor in Poltergeist 2, he was a real-life shaman who performed an on-set exorcism, and he died from post-transplant complications in 1987. And this is the saddest
Of a
one.
brain? Sorry, go on.
I can't remember actually, but the saddest one is the girl who played Carol Ann, Heather O'Rourke, which
yes.
is horrible. She died from a misdiagnosed bowel condition in 1988, and that was just before Poltergeist 3 came out. But like you can see that there was something wrong with her, which was it was a proper heartbreaking. She, it's just a little girl, and yeah, it's just 4 deaths. I don't know. It's a bit spooky. Like
I think it's
that is
because the majority of them are quite tragic. Because I think,
yeah.
in some ways, 4 actors from the same film dying within a certain amount of years, in and of itself, isn't a major thing. Apart from the fact that certainly the 2 actresses were both pretty young. I can't say what it was for the 2 actors, but
I think the tragic nature as well. And if we open up the definition of cast list,
sure.
there's 2 more as well. But this was like kind of a little bit later on. So in 1992, actor Richard Lawson, who played Ryan in Poltergeist 2, was aboard the US Air Flight 405 when it crashed on takeoff from LaGuardia. Is it LaGuardia or LaGuardia?
I think it's LaGuardia.
LaGuardia. This was in March 1992.
Right.
But he survived this. There was 51 people on board, and 27 of them died. And
Right.
he did survive, but I imagine I'll fuck you up for a bit.
Yeah.
And perhaps I'm not going to say most tragic, but that's not to obviously diminish it.
Not a competition.
It's not a competition, yeah. Lou Perryman, who played in the original film, he played a construction worker called Pugsley. He was murdered with an axe in his home on the 1st of April 2009 by a recently paroled 26-year-old who just stumbled into his house at random.
Oof.
After he'd attacked someone else earlier that day.
Oh, that's so unlucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I imagine at some point, like before the first axe blow fell, he'd be thinking this is some kind of joke, like this is an April Fool's.
1st of April, yeah.
Yeah, and then just bang. But it's
well, I'm the fool now.
Yeah, I mean, so that's quite tragic. Like,
sorry, too soon.
I still get sad about the Byzantine Empire, so all that effort wasted. Oh. You couldn't do Rome. So yeah, too soon. So going back to that's furthers your point, right? That's tragic.
Yeah.
Deaths. I mean, well, even the surviving ones, that's pretty fucking. That's the thing that you worry about.
To be involved in something that harrowing would be pretty bad, yeah.
Yeah, it's. So what do you think? Have we converted you? Do you think this is a cursed film?
I'd say it's borderline. I'd say the fact that a lot of that is tragic is what gets it to the borderline. Otherwise, the deaths of about 6 people across 2 of the first couple of films, you could just put down to the randomness of life. But I think the nature of certainly the eldest daughter one, and I'll say this now: true crime is something I do not engage in whatsoever. Not that I've never had my interest piqued by it, but it just seems to be such an impenetrable thing of its own accord that I've just never bothered. So I'm sure there's loads of great documentaries or essays about it and everything. But yeah, I think moreover that's pretty tragic in the fact there's a lot of tragedy binding a lot of the cast members. Yeah, I'd say that's borderline.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. This one is the thing is, like, Poltergeist as well. It's not. I wouldn't say the subject matter is anything more than just. It's just kind of like it's a fun film a lot of the time as well. Like, I know that some dodgy shit happens in the film, but I consider it more fun than the next one we're going to talk about, which is The Omen. It's
Yes.
1976.
Well,
Have you seen this one?
there's the Spielberg effect for you, obviously.
Oh yeah, true. True.
I wanna say The Omen is the subject of one of my favourite radio comedy sketches ever. So it's from a series from about 2000 called The Museum of Everything. Marcus Brigstock is one of the three main guys who did it. He also did it with Dan Tetzel and Danny Robbins. Danny Robbins is now quite famous for doing a ghost kind of show on the BBC, the name of which escapes me because, again, I'm not really into all that. So it's called The Museum of Everything, and it was all about. So obviously, I'm going to love it anyway. But it was all about the weird world of like museums and exhibits and things. So the purpose of the sketch is a guy who does audio-visual displays is called in to do a promotional tourist piece for the Surrey-based town of Guildford, and all that the guy can think of about Guildford is a bit of The Omen was filmed there. So he bases the entire AV thing about and linking it back to The Omen, which greatly frustrates the leader of the town council. And it's up on YouTube. You can find it. So it's Museum of Everything. It'll either be under Omen or Guildford. So I do recommend that. But
yeah, of course.
otherwise, it's a
nearly
fascinating film, The Omen.
It is, yeah. I mean, for a worldwide audience, of course, it is a toss up between what's more recognisable, The Omen or Guildford. So, try both those search terms just to make sure. But yes, The Omen, it's one of the not defining films of the horror genre,
Donner, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Famously, he took his whole crew for a long trek in the mountains, and they all ate each other. But this is a weird amount of near misses and deaths and stuff like that around this film. So, The Omen, again, it's about the birth of the Antichrist on Earth. There's a little boy called Damien. The sequels aren't even. I enjoyed the sequels a lot as well. You've got Sam Neill is in the third one. I just like the way he says the Nazarene when he's talking about Jesus.
Right.
I just love the way just Sam Neill doing anything like serious drama is pretty cool. Was he in the second one? I think it might be the history
teacher. I think he's just
in the
third one.
Is he just the third one?
Yeah.
Does he play Damien in the third one?
Yes.
Is that yes? Okay. I've got it mixed up with the history teacher in the second one who quizzes Damien. Because it turns out Damien, as his part of his superpowers, is history. So you might be the Antichrist.
I'm Ginger as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I won't go out. You made that joke.
I did.
I wasn't gonna. So to be fair though, I never think of you as Ginger. I'm just more annoyed that you've got a lovely head of hair. That's all I think about.
Same with my brother.
Yeah. But I've got a beard and a big dick, so I'll have to settle for that. Right. So Gregory Peck, his flight. Who did he play in the film? Was he the dad?
Yeah,
he's
the ambassador.
Yeah, he's the ambassador, isn't he? Yeah. So his flight to London was struck by lightning, which, in terms of biblical messages, I'm just saying it's kind of up there. Like, you be the burning Boeing instead of the burning bush. Like,
it happens more regularly than you think.
It does, but also 3 days later, producer Harvey Bernard was nearly hit by a lightning bolt on location in Rome.
Yep.
And Sorry, no, not 3 days later from that. So Gregory Peck's flight was struck by lightning. 3 days after that, producer Mason Neufeld's flight was also struck by lightning.
That's more that's more of a sequence.
Still filming the film, producer Harvey Bernard was nearly hit by a lightning bolt on location in Rome. Then, a private plane that had been originally booked to fly the crew crashed after it was meant to book everyone.
Not crash.
Sorry?
After it was meant to not crash.
Yeah, one job plane.
Yeah.
So they had to reschedule it. So they rescheduled Gregory Peck's scene. And then because of that, they didn't get that charter. That plane then crashed, killing everybody on board and a family in a car that it landed on.
Jesus.
And then, so that already would have me freaked out because that's very kind of specific things to do with airplanes and lightning and Gregory Peck. That's one.
Thank God Gregory Peck lived to a grand old age and died on my 18th birthday.
What did you do to him? He told you to slow down.
I wished him a happy birthday. I said, "Have you got any tips for me?" He was like, "No," and promptly died. With my demon powers of history.
So anyone familiar with the film will know and remember the fantastic decapitation scene. You know, where that pane of glass, and I will always remember talking about things being burned into your brain. The head rolling across the top of the glass as it decapitates the fella. So the special effects designer who built this contraption, John Richardson, he was in a car accident in the Netherlands, and his assistant was killed in this. Liz Moore was killed when a tire from an oncoming vehicle struck the car. Allegedly,
that is Final Destination shit. That.
Allegedly, she was decapitated in a very similar way.
From a tire?
Allegedly. I mean, I've seen, we'll talk with Nathan about it, but people have walked under roller coasters and been hit with legs that have decapitated them.
True. Yes.
So,
yes.
You know. But several accounts. Now, this was decades ago, and it was in a foreign country. And the Netherlands isn't going to be around for too much longer because it's going to flood. But it's very hard to verify. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give it to him straight. That's what he wants. So, several accounts state that this crash happened on Friday the 13th beside a road sign reading 66.6 kilometers to the town of Omen. So, it's who could really say at this point, 'cause it's been a long time.
Have you got many more facts on this, Chris? Because I'm ready with my verdict, frankly. I'm going to say this film is cursed.
This film is cursed.
Paraphrased some of the supporting cast of The Mummy Returns.
Yes, this is cursed.
Yes.
That is cursed.
This film is unfinished.
That is it. So if the Poltergeist was about the tragedy of it, the Omen is about the specificity.
The Omen.
The Omen is about the specificity of it.
Yeah.
That is like, if I was Gregory Peck or anyone working on that film, I'd just be like, God, is this okay?
So, notwithstanding how the film ends, Gregory, would you be interested in a sequel? Hell no. And you can quote me on that.
Oh my God. Like, I would be showering in holy water.
Yeah, exactly.
I'd be like, fun fact about me, and this is an interesting one. So, like I said, I love horror films. And when I was at university, you didn't have a telly, right? But I did, and I had a laptop, right? And I used to smoke a lot of weed. I don't anymore. I don't really partake in anything. I don't even really drink. But I used to smoke a lot of weed. And I got it into my head in my first year of university that if I ever had to fight a demon, I'd be completely unprepared because I was watching, I was smoking a load of weed and I was watching a load of horror films, right?
Right.
And the horror films that scare me the most are haunted house ones and like demons and stuff. Like they're
Okay.
the ones that get me under my skin because there's not much you can do. You can't fight back against that like readily. And one of the things that always came out was like the faith required. You know, like you defeat things with faith.
Sure.
So I got really paranoid and I had myself ordained as a minister with the Universal Life Church, and I'm still an ordained minister to this day,
Okay.
which means that I can perform weddings, baptisms, funerals, exorcisms, and the like. And fun fact,
Yeah.
anybody can baptize anybody. You don't need to be a priest to do that.
Mm.
My wife baptized me in the bath so that I could be the godfather to my best friend's eldest daughter.
Okay.
And I got baptized by my wife because his church were really strict about it. So I was like, okay, I'll do this for you, man. So yeah, my goddaughter Daisy, I was baptized in my bath just so I could be her godfather.
Okay.
But
I was raised as a Baptist as a child until I became a teenager. It was like whatever. But we specifically had not a font, but in the kind of raised stage area where there was also the pulpit and the organ, we had a covered water tank for the baptism service, which, I mean, obviously it was only filled up when there was going to be a baptism. It wasn't a case of just once the ministers gone, just have like a swim or anything like that.
Punch.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, it's always been an interesting thing about baptism, like the difference between like wetting the baby's head, like for christening, and what constitutes an actual baptism and such.
Well,
like.
it's generally accepted. I think Catholics, the people who really like cats, they're the ones who they have they have a bit stricter criteria.
Sure.
But most other arms of Christianity are just kind of like, yeah, man, bath's fine,
Right.
as long as you say the words, do the things. And I mean, it was done sincerely as well, because I was like, okay, if that's what it takes to be godfather to this the man who's one of my best friends, I love him to death, I love his wife, I love his kids, of course, I'll do whatever. But the one before that about me getting ordained as a minister purely came from the fear that I'd one day have to fight a demon. Looking back, I do think that the marijuana had more to do with it than a lot of things.
Very probably.
But I'm not saying I would have done better than Gregory Peck on the set of The Omen, but I might have been a bit more prepared.
Possibly.
And some of these films, like, they do like get blessed and stuff. Like, it does happen.
So this would be an excellent segue into another film.
Go on.
Given that you are licensed to exorcise.
Yes, the Exorcist, which is about a man who goes door to door on Saturday morning TV and makes people exercise.
Mr. Motivator was his
name.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I get it mixed up. Yes. So The Exorcist, 1973. This is the crux of what I want to talk about today, because this one's a bit weird. So there are things that happen on this film, but there are two murders associated with it, two different murderers associated with the movie, which is But for anyone who's not aware, so William Friedkin directed an adaptation of William Peter Blatty's novel about a little girl who becomes possessed by Captain Howdy, which is actually the demon Pazuzu of the Southeast Wind, which is it Southwest? I don't know.
To be specific,
one of the southern winds, which is a very interesting thing. And is it the first one as well, where James Earl Jones is or is it the second or third, where he's like the shaman with the panther?
It's not the first one.
It's not the first one. Yeah, I think it might be number 3. Because anyway, but stuff happened on set. So for anyone who's watched The Exorcist, a lot of the film takes place, the climax especially takes place in a little girl's... Oh God, that sounds horrific. The climax takes place in a little girl's bedroom. Fucking hell. where she is being exorcised.
Fluids fly everywhere and...
Yeah, just 2 priests involved. Shock. Well, it's shocking because she was a girl. During construction, the main set, which was the recreation of the family's home, because it's set in Washington, and they're like a well-to-do... Is it Washington? Where they're a really well-to-do family, so it's like a really big house. This was built in a New York studio, but during construction, it burnt down after a bird flew into the circuit box, and it destroyed nearly everything, and it set the film back by 6 weeks. But there was only one room that was unaffected, and it was Reagan's bedroom, where the exorcism takes place.
Right.
So we're already off to a bit of a... The main priest, Max von Sydow.
Yep.
I've always got to be very careful because I love Scary Movie 2. So it's not James Woods. It's not James Woods because he's the priest of that. Marlon Brando. Anyone who's a fan of Scary Movie 2, by the way, James Woods had to step in after Marlon Brando became ill and couldn't do that.
I can't believe Marlon Brando went anywhere near Scary Movie 2.
He did. He was on set for a full day. And so, what's she called? Natasha, is it Natasha Lyonne? The girl who plays Reagan in Scary Movie 2. She's also in American Pie,
right?
As well. The ginger lass. Natasha Lyonne, yeah. She said that Marlon Brando spent the whole day with his hand on her boobs, apparently, but he was still better to be around than James Woods, who was apparently a proper arsehole.
Yes, that is his reputation.
Is it? Oh my god!
James Woods is a terrible human being. But
please, not so soon after Hulk Hogan, Ian.
Yeah,
please, not more.
No, I didn't know James Woods was put on such a pedestal.
Don't come for Hades, man.
I know it doesn't quite count as a horror film, but if we're talking Brando, Apocalypse Now was definitely a cursed film. But we can go into that another time.
We'll come up with that. So back to Scary Movie. Yes. We'll walk backwards from Scary Movie 2 back into the actual Exorcist. Yes. So Max von Sydow, in the first week of filming, on the first week on set, his brother died, which was a bit unusual. Then Linda Blair, who plays Reagan, her grandfather died soon after, which delayed filming again. Then Jack McGowan, who plays Burke Dennings, and Vasiliki Maliaros, Father Karras' mother, they both died shortly after finishing their scenes. So what's the body count?
That's right. Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. 4 body counts so far.
Burke was the actor, wasn't he?
Yes. I believe so, yes. Then, so we've got that. So there's a body count of 4. Sure. Keeps delaying filming. Obviously,
two relatives, 2 actual cast members. Okay.
Yes. So we've got a body count of 4 so far. Then Ellen Burstyn and Linda Blair were both injured by badly rigged safety harnesses during, they're thrashing her about on the bed.
Yeah.
Those were done with like wires and stuff like that. That fucked up her back. That still bothered her for like years and years and years.
Is that Linda Blair?
That was Linda Blair. She got, and Ellen Burstyn, who I think was her
mum.
Stunt double. Oh, was it her mum? Yeah. Oh, was it Ellen Burstyn was her mum? Yeah. Right, okay. So yeah, they both got injured. Linda Blair had like lasting back problems from it. And William Friedkin himself told the magazine called Castle of Frankenstein, bring back magazines, by the way. Please bring back magazines. That's amazing. Yeah. He said this shoot was plagued by weird things from the start. And he was rattled enough, Friedkin was rattled enough that he brought in Father Thomas Birmingham, spelt B-E-R-M.
Okay.
Birmingham. So in the same way someone from Birmingham would say Birmingham. Birmingham. Sorry, the same way a Scouser would say Birmingham. He was the film's Jesuit technical advisor.
Okay, yeah.
To bless the set rather than perform so he blessed the set. Like it was like rather than a full exorcism, it was just and Jesuit technical advisor is sounds like someone who does the fireworks at like a giant mega church.
It does,
but
yes.
It does. Like, have you seen? No, we can't get distracted. I was going to talk about Righteous Gemstones. Fantastic show.
I've heard of
it. It's got Danny McBride and John Goodman. Yeah, it's really good. So it rattled him enough that he got in a priest to bless the set.
I need a young priest and an old priest and an actual priest
Yeah,
to consult.
it's the Holy Trinity.
Yes.
So then we move out of things that happened on set to things that are a bit crazy, and then I'm going to bring me to the main thing. So we've got two killers we're going to talk about. The first one is that in the hospital scene with Reagan, where she's getting like the tests done and stuff like that, there is a radiology technician who's like an extra. Is an extra as one of the radiology technicians. That is a fella called Paul Bateson, who was convicted in 1979, but the murder happened in 1977.
I remember this now. This is ringing a bell. Yeah.
He was convicted of murdering a variety film critic called Addison Verrill. He was also suspected, but never charged, in a separate string of unsolved killings of gay men in New York, known at the time as the Bag Murders. Then William Friedkin, smelling an opportunity, visited him in prison, and then later based his 1980 movie Cruising on the case, which is just what?
Yeah.
And I would love to go into more of that, but this one took my attention more. So we're going to move on to the crux of today's episode. The voice of Pazuzu, the voice of the demon, was done and performed by a woman called Mercedes McCambridge. Her son, John Lawrence Markle, killed his wife and 2 kids before he took his own life in 1987. But it's the details of this case that is pretty freaky. So the first one is that he left behind like a 12-page suicide note, and the reason he seemed to kill himself, it's called a family annihilation. The reason that he annihilated his family is he handled his mother's finances because he was a day trader, he was like a financial guy,
Right.
and he went to work for a company where he did really, really well, and he became a vice president within 8 months, like faster than anybody else had ever done it at this company. And what he did was he embezzled over $5 million from the company by marking losses against the company and his mother's account and like pissing around with the money, and then he siphoned away $5 million by rigging his mum's finances. He was then put on administrative leave while they investigated this, and then was sacked from it. And he wrote in his suicide note that he blamed his mother for everything, and he asked her for cash, for money to help him, because he said the guy who owns the company is probably going to sue me, but we might be able to make a deal to avoid me going to prison. And he asked his mum for about $1 million. But the thing is that this murder, like the suicide and murder, was all planned. And in November 1987, on Monday the 16th of November, in the early hours of the morning, he killed his wife and 2 daughters, then killed himself after phoning his attorney at 4 a.m. in the morning saying, come to my house, and then hung up. But when they got there, so the police and the attorney got there at about 4:17 a.m. They found Markle's body, John Markle. They found his body in the downstairs study, and within minutes they found the body of his 45-year-old wife and his 13-year-old daughter Amy and 9-year-old daughter Suzanne. He used multiple guns. There was 18 guns in the house. But what was that's what happened, right? That's the events of the case. In the suicide note, though, he accused his mother of being a bad mother, and she was she'd won an Academy Award. She got an Academy Award nomination for a film called All the King's Men from 1949.
Okay.
So she worked on the film as the voice of Pazuzu, and he ended his suicide note by saying "Night Mother," which was a reference to a play she was in, where at the culmination of this film, the one of the characters commits suicide, which is just. But going back to the murder, he had purchased a Halloween mask a few days prior, and the Halloween mask was found splattered in blood, which suggested, and they are pretty certain, that he wore the Halloween mask while he killed his family. But what makes it weirder is this is where we go into the horror aspect of it. So we've got the Halloween mask that he used, and it's an old man mask, and I'll put up a picture of it on our social media at some point. It's a Halloween mask of like an old man. It does look really creepy. It's like got the bald head at the top with like the long hair, and it's got like a goatee and a really like long droopy nose and like the jowls, and it looks pretty terrifying. 3 days before, on Friday the 13th of November, he had rented 2 movies, and one of them he said was for a Freddy party that the daughters had planned, and so they rented A Nightmare on Elm Street. And this movie was found in the VCR in a playroom on the second floor of the home. But an employee at the store noted that the family never rented horror films before, and allegedly as well, someone who sold him the mask said that they found it very strange when he came into the store that he didn't want to try on the mask, and that you remember the interaction with it being really, really odd, that he didn't want to try on the mask that he was buying, and she'd said the clerk said he looked like he knew what he came in for. So he'd planned this, like in the weeks prior to it. So he bought the mask the day before the murders, and in the weeks before, he checked his life insurance clause for like whether it be invalidated by like suicide and things like that. And allegedly, I can't find a full copy of the suicide note because it was 12 pages. It was very bitter towards his mother, accusing her of being a bad mom and breaking like God's laws and stuff like that. But in the letter, he allegedly called her a demon, which would be quite on the nose considering that she was the voice of Pazuzu. And yeah, I have to kind of stop myself because this is a half pint episode. But he'd put the drug Elavil into his family systems, which is an antidepressant that causes drowsiness. And to top off this horror cacophony, there was a thunderstorm on that night, a heavy thunderstorm, which means that none of the neighbors could hear the gunshots.
Yeah.
It's just fuck. So the mother who voiced Pazuzu in The Exorcist, her son killed his 2 young daughters, his wife, while wearing a Halloween mask that he'd purchased the day before, and in the VCR, the video player for the millennials, cassette tape player, was A Nightmare on Elm Street, which has Freddy Krueger as the villain, that was purchased on Friday the 13th after they'd never had horror films before. And that really unsettled me. Like in his diary, he noted that he planned this for weeks as well. Like he knew what was coming up because he said there's only one thing left when he was talking about. Like, he killed him because he was financial ruin. He was worried about, and so yeah, he killed his family. Now, I mean,
of course, the alternative would be to take responsibility for your actions, go to prison, and hope to rebuild your life once taking your just knocks. But
yeah, I mean, worst case scenario, declare bankruptcy, become a fucking president of America.
Yes,
yeah.
He's well known for accepting responsibility for his crime.
But so I will, or I'll put it out there. Maybe you might not class this as related to The Exorcist. I think it's close enough that I wanted to talk about it.
Sure.
I don't know. And the fact that it's like there's all those little details that point to like horror movie type stuff that is just a bit odd.
There was, I mean, I suppose more relevant to The Exorcist proper. It was famously one of the first films to make people pass out in terror at screenings. It became really notorious for scaring the shit out of cinema goers in 1973.
It might have been the first. Legitimately, I'm not making a joke here. This might have been the first film to do that since the. Do you remember the first moving one, the train? That caused people to panic when they saw the train coming at them. Like the one of the very first films ever made was just like a few second shot of a train on a train track coming towards the screen,
Okay.
and that caused people to like run out of the cinema because obviously it was the first time we'd ever seen that.
Yeah.
So it might have been that the first time. That was like 1812 or something. It might have been.
Wouldn't have been that early.
No,
1812.
not 80s. Right, okay, hang on. Right,
1882 maybe, like late 1800s perhaps. But
L'arrivée d'un train en gare de la Croix.
right.
Running time 50 seconds.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I should have just read the second result, the arrival of a train, rather than trying to do the French. Yeah, and also The Exorcist is responsible for the reputation that Ouija boards have. They weren't
right. Okay.
They weren't treated as bad before that. So yeah, that was kind of like the crux of the main thing I wanted to talk about. But do you want to do a quick fire round? Want to rattle through some? You got some time for that? Yeah. In fact, you might be able to tell me about this one. Do you want to tell us about The Crow?
The Crow, another one of the ghoulish VHS faces that contributed to my nightmares. So The Crow, of which there's only one film, no others.
Yeah, no others.
No, especially a recent one.
No,
God no.
I don't know what you're on about.
So The Crow, 1994 film, or was it 93? Either way.
93. 31st. This happened on the 31st of March, 1993.
Right. Okay. Got it. So it's an adaptation of a comic book series, which revolves around an aspiring rock artist and his girlfriend being murdered around Halloween, Devil's Night, which I believe is the night before Halloween. But
yeah, we call it Mischief Night here as well, don't we? Well,
you might.
In the Northeast, we do.
Is
Devil's Night? Devil's Night is it just Detroit? Is that what Devil's Night is?
They never name the city specifically in the film, but I can imagine it being Detroit. It's an industrial hellhole of a city, therefore Detroit. So they are murdered by some organised crime thugs. However, the rocker is brought back to life by the spirit of a crow because of the torment of justice left unpunished. So he turns into a goth vigilante who is basically invulnerable as long as the crow remains healthy, and takes down all the people responsible for the murder of himself and his girlfriend, including their boss, who technically wasn't behind it, but kind of was, but kind of either way. It's entertaining. It's Guy of Gisborne from Prince of Thieves, who's the big bad at the end. And the title role was played by Brandon Lee, who was the son of Bruce Lee, the famous martial artist film actor who, despite his immense fame, died relatively young because of a stunt gone wrong, if memory serves. I can't quite remember. So Brandon had largely grown up without his father, but within the shadow of his father's influence. And he'd started his own film career. He'd been in a film with, I want to say, Jean-Claude Van Damme, like immediately before he did The Crow. Maybe you can look it up whilst I'm talking. But it's basically some kind of crime team-up movie that he was in with someone of that ilk. But with regards to The Crow, he himself suffered a tragic mishap when, towards the end of filming his parts, he was shot at with a prop gun, not unlike what happened with Alec Baldwin about 5-10 years ago.
Yeah.
However, because it was aimed right at his abdomen, and because something went wrong with the gun, something did discharge into his body, and unfortunately that did kill him. And he had shot like 95% of his parts, so the bits you can kind of tell which bits are being filled in for him, but it's not quite as bad as Oliver Reed in Gladiator, say, who died with a lot less of his part completed. Unfortunately, Brandon Lee tragically killed in the making of a man who was tragically killed.
They were filming his character's death scene when it happened as well. Like, they were filming the character's death scene.
I'm not entirely sure that's right, because it was either that or the scene in which he's taking on the heroin inflicted man called Fun Boy, because it was the actor who played him who shot off the gun, and that severely fucked him up mentally. There are tales that he took off a lot of time from Hollywood after that. I've looked into his filmography. That doesn't quite actually pan out, but it is something that he's had residual guilt about ever since.
So
he's appeared in this and that, but his career never really took off.
Yeah, so it was, I think it's called a squib load.
Yes,
is what killed him.
Yeah,
is that right? Yeah.
They packed something in the gun that shouldn't have gone off. But
what happens is it misfired earlier.
Yeah.
It misfired earlier in the day and nobody had cleaned the barrel.
Yeah.
So when they fired the blank round again, it launched the shrapnel out and into his abdomen. So he died in surgery hours later. So it was Michael Massey.
Yes.
Massey.
Yeah.
So he fired what should have been a harmless blank at Brandon Lee from around 12 feet away. The blank's charge propelled that lodged fragment out at close to lethal velocity, which struck Brandon Lee in the abdomen, and he died 2 weeks before his planned wedding, which is pretty terrible. And for the rest of the shoot as well, there was a run of minor disasters. So a carpenter was nearly electrocuted on day one. Managed to avoid that. A construction worker put a screwdriver through his own hand. And
careless.
Frustratingly, this one I want to know so much more about, but there's very little information. A disgruntled sculptor crashed a car through the studio backlot.
Right.
Disgruntled is the key word there.
Yeah.
That means what happened?
There was a motive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like what happened there? Like, was it Alec Baldwin? Was it Rust in 2021? I think was that the film?
Yes.
Yeah.
The film I was thinking about, by the way, was called Showdown in Little Tokyo, a buddy cop action film. It wasn't JCVD. It was Brandon Lee and Dolph Lundgren.
Nice.
So you know it's quality.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And that is that's the main bit. Now I've got some very, very, very quick ones that I just want to rattle off quick style, and then we'll call the episode to an end today. Cool. But I'll just put it out there. I think there's something about films that attracts bad luck and ghosts and shit because it's horrific.
Yeah.
There's also the Twilight Zone movie where two kids. Early hours of 23rd of July 1982, John Landis was filming a Vietnam War segment for the Twilight Zone movie, and there was two kid actors who should not have been working at that time. Legally, they were not.
This comes back
working.
to the union thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they shouldn't have been working. It was Micah Din Lee, who was 7, and Renee Shinyi Chen, who was 6. And a helicopter flew overhead for a special effects shot and a special effects
And
explosion.
also the actor Vic Morrow as well.
Vic Morrow,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, Vic Morrow was there as well. A helicopter was flying low overhead, and a special effect explosions went off beneath it. Fucking helicopters, when are we going to give them up, right? Debris from the explosion damaged the tail rotor, and the helicopter spun out of control and crashed into the 3 actors. Morrow and Micah were decapitated by the main rotor, and Shinyi was crushed by the landing skid, which is the rail that goes under the helicopter, which is terrible. But Landis and 4 other crew members were charged with involuntary manslaughter, but were found not guilty. And the case influenced massively how helicopters, child actors, and pyrotechnics were handled on film sets, specifically in the United States, which is, very interesting wording there, because a lot of these films go elsewhere for like tax breaks and go and shoot on location and stuff like that.
Vancouver, the UK gets used a lot.
Yeah, Vancouver for New York. Pretty much every time you see New York City, it's Vancouver, isn't it? Like, there was something I was listening. There was something that someone who lives in New York was like, "Yeah, you laugh every time you see an alleyway in New York on a film, because New York doesn't really have that many alleyways, like especially like Manhattan."
It's weird as well, because Vancouver is one of the most beautiful cities on earth, which I had
Yeah,
the joy to stop by for a couple of nights on my gap year. But that whole thing was purposely the fault of John Landis, who very purposefully went round it. And afterwards, Steven Spielberg just completely cut him off friendship-wise. And yet Landis was surprisingly aggrieved about the damage to his reputation. He still got work, but compared to the esteem he was once held, like he did the Blues Brothers, he'd done The American Werewolf in London. I can't remember if Thriller was just after or before it happened. I think a lot of the time he was either relying on favours from comedy mates. So he did Coming to America, because Eddie Murphy gave him a chance. He might have done Three Amigos, because again he was in with Dan Aykroyd. But I think by and large, what kept his career going was doing Michael Jackson videos. So he'd famously done Thriller. He was there doing like Black and White, and I think Liberian Girl as well. You know how we mentioned Burke and Hare earlier?
mm-hmm.
That was John Landis directed.
Oh, okay.
The adaptation with Andy Serkis and Simon Pegg.
I do enjoy that one. It's heartbreaking though. Those poor kids and
it's
poor Vic,
terrible.
like,
Terrible.
Yeah,
and then
it's
not only does it reflect on John Landis as a person, he also raised Max Landis, which is a separate issue. But
yes,
but
he was the
related.
writer, wasn't he? He was
Yes,
a proper bastard. He did like Chronicle and stuff.
he did.
Yeah,
And Bright, and
yeah.
and is a renowned sex pest. So yeah,
You can't fucking move from, can you? Like, honestly, it's terrible. But no, that one.
Sorry, we should be picking up the pace,
heartbreaking. Yeah, I do apologise.
So,
so let's rattle through someone. So these ones are all anecdotes.
Okay.
There's nothing really corroborating these except just what people have said.
Sure.
So The Nun, 2018, director Corin Hardy said that he had a spooky experience on set. They were filming in a real underground fortress in Romania, and he was watching back a scene from a pitch black side room, and he became aware of what looked like a row of local crew members sitting behind him watching the scene as well, go in front of him. Sorry, he was watching the actors from a side room. He was watching the scene play out. When the take ended and he turned round to see the crew's reaction, there was nobody there, and there was only one door into the room, which was directly in front of him the whole time because he was watching out of it. So a pitch black room, he went in, saw a load of people, sat down, watched the scene, turned around. What do you think of that? There's nobody there.
Huh. Okay. Yep.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Jennifer Carpenter. Was it Jennifer Carpenter? Was it
From Dexter.
Yeah. Who married?
Yes.
Dexter.
And divorced.
Yeah. But she said, while filming The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which is a creepy film, I love it, she said that she was repeatedly woken in the night during the shoot by her radio switching itself on. And on one occasion, to the song Pearl Jam's Alive. And she also said that her co-star, Laura Linney, reported the same thing happening with her hotel television, but no confirmation about whether it was Pearl Jam. The Possession, 2012, the Dybbuk box fire. So Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who I know him from Supernatural, the dad from Supernatural, but he was also The Walking Dead.
Yep.
Negan in The Walking Dead and some other shit. Good guy, funny actor. I think he's great. He, in The Possession, he described exploding lights and unexplained cold drafts in rooms with no vents during the filming, but he said the standout incident was a fire that destroyed the film's props and storage, including the Dybbuk box, which is a very haunted box from, I think, Jewish folklore.
Okay.
Cast and crew have maintained that there was no electrical fault or sign of arson ever found. And it should be said that Dybbuk boxes started as like a rumor on the internet about them being cursed from like eBay and stuff like that. So it's a bit of an internet one that then later went into film. But this next one, this one gets me a little bit because I love the Ring movies.
Oh, okay.
Like 7 Days, that type of stuff. Director of The Ring 2, Hideo Nakata, which was the last American film he ever made. He had such a bad time making this.
Right, I've not seen it. I've seen the Japanese Ring 2.
You've seen Ringu?
Yes. That fucked me up.
Yes, they are good. Yeah. So this is the American version of it, right? But Hideo Nakata said that the production office began flooding days into the shoot with water pouring from the walls, which is very fucking freaky considering the whole theme of those films is about the little girl drowning and
in a well
water coming from everywhere. And then this is creepy as shit. The film's costume designer said she was nearly struck by a deer sprinting at full speed round a corner of the Universal backlot.
Okay.
Which echoes exactly what happens in the film with Rachel, I can't remember what the character's called, but the mom in the film. Naomi Watts, she plays Rachel. Naomi Watts, so a deer, that's exactly what happens in the film. A deer runs out at full pelt. It's Samara uses that, she drives the animals mad,
right? Yeah,
to attack people. So the water flooding the offices and a deer trying to. Weird. Couldn't do this episode without talking about them. Annabelle and Annabelle Comes Home. Director John Leonetti on the first film has said a heavy glass light fixture came loose and struck an actor on the head in the exact hallway where the actor's character was about to be killed on screen during the demon's first day in full makeup. I assume the actor was accounted for at the time. Like, he wasn't just method acting trying to kill people as a demon.
Depends who you got cast.
Well, yeah, true. On the second film, actor Madison Eisman has said the prop Annabelle doll would change positions in a locked room whenever she passed it. That is a bit...
I can imagine that being a crew member fucking with her, but...
I know. That one I'm a bit... Yeah. But McKenna Grace, who is now everywhere in every film ever, but I only really knew her from these films as a little girl, she said that she would get a sudden, unexplained nosebleed on set that stopped the moment she stepped outside. Both productions ultimately had the sets blessed, which is... Okay, The Conjuring 2013, cast and crew reported waking up at 3 a.m. during the shoot, which is the same hour featured in the film and lots of others about, like, demonic activity. Okay. And Vera Farmiga said she found claw-like marks scratched into her personal laptop during filming, with the same marks appearing on her own thigh shortly after wrapping. I don't believe you, Vera. I'm going to be honest. I don't believe that. It's that Anchorman. It's like, I don't believe you. Joy King, who has got a very challenging and annoying face, which is great for horror, but awful watching anything else.
Clint Howard.
Yes. She described developing a rare and severe blood platelet disorder during production, which resolved completely once filming ended, which is what the fuck. Last three. Amityville Horror 1979. James Brolin was reading the source book late one night, and at the point in the story where the family is at their most frightened in the story, the trousers he always hung over his bedroom door fell to the floor by themselves. He said the fright and the amusement at that happening caused him to take the role.
Right.
So, fair enough.
Sure.
Like, can't fault that. The last one that I'm going to talk about is Rosemary's Baby, 1968, which is a bit of a grim one to finish on.
It's not the Sinatra marriage, is it?
This is the Sharon Tate stuff.
Okay.
So producer William Castle became convinced that the film was cursed after he got a wave of hate mail over its satanic themes, which then shortly after that, he was put in hospital by kidney stones, where he reportedly hallucinated scenes from the film and shouted for Rosemary to drop the knife. The film's composer, Christoph Komeda, fell during a party later that year, suffering a brain hematoma, and died the following spring, which is quite close to how a character dies in the film.
Yes.
And a year after the release, director Roman Polanski's pregnant wife, Sharon Tate, was murdered by the Manson family.
Yes.
It's weird, and just I'll finish off with one that is complete bullshit that has been disproven. Okay. Doesn't really hold up. There's that myth that the Wizard of Oz has got one of the Munchkins hanging themselves in the background of one of the sets.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, they say that there's a myth that in the background of one of the Wizard of Oz shots, a cast or crew member can be seen hanging in the background of the forest.
Right.
And it's generally accepted that it's not a body, and it is said to be a large bird, most likely one of the exotic animals borrowed from the LA Zoo for the production. So that is one, but it's one of those little weird little.
In fairness,
urban legends.
All of the asbestos that they used on the set of The Wizard of Oz would have killed those animals anyway.
Yeah, true.
I've covered Wizard of Oz for my film podcast, and no one had a happy time making that film. It was
not even the Munchkins.
Well, not if they're hanging themselves. No.
Is it the Wizard of Oz where the Munchkins would get drunk on set? There was one where I think it was the Wizard of Oz where the Munchkins would just get absolutely wrecked on set.
I don't think so, but
I'm gonna have to look at it. There's one film where a load of little people just get wrecked.
Maybe it's the Oompa Loompas.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't have to look it up. But that's cursed films. That's a half pint episode, 3/4 pint. Of the ones we've discussed today, Ian, what do you think's the most likely to be cursed? I'm saying The Omen.
Definitely The Omen. Definitely The Omen.
Too freaky.
There's too much stuff in there. Oh, but I think there's an argument to be made for The Exorcist as a runner-up.
Yeah.
But I'd definitely go with The Omen.
Definitely. But yeah, I hope you've had a lovely trek through. Please let us know if there's any we missed, or that you would. What do you think is the most likely cursed film from
again?
Here? Tell us.
Cursed films outside of horror. I've mentioned Apocalypse Now. You could mention quite a few Marlon Brando films, to be honest. The Island of Dr. Moreau remake in the mid-90s.
Is he the curse, though?
is,
Is he
also quite famous.
Is Marlon Brando the one who refuses to learn lines?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
So when he was Jor-El in Superman, they would place his lines in the baby's nappy before he's been sent off to Earth.
What a dick! It's like your one job.
Yes.
It's like me refusing to use a microphone. It's like, no, just
when you're Marlon Brando,
transcribe.
They let you get away with anything. Grab you by the boobs in Scary Movie.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to look into James Woods when I'm emotionally ready for it. I watched a 50-minute documentary about Hulk Hogan today while I was working about the lies he told. I was just like, you fuck. Right. This has been a Half Pint episode. I'm not sure when this will be out. I'll have a look because I've got a few episodes to edit, which is nice. It's a good position to be in. Thank you, Ian, for being so obliging.
No problem.
And we will see you on the next one. So goodbye from me, Chris.
And goodbye from me, Ian.
Goodbye from me, Nathan.
Bye, Nathan.
Bye.